Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to celebrate the release of my new Polar Night EP. I know a lot of people kind of followed the journey of my trip, and it felt like a thing that we should do, to create an evening where we could celebrate the music that I wrote and the people that I met and all the experiences that I had along the way. So thank you so much for being here. You all seem very polite and quiet, which is absolutely terrifying. So I just want to start off by saying thanks to Arts Council Wales International Opportunities Fund, because they're the reason that I was able to go out above the Arctic Circle to write this EP, and also to the artist residency. So it was an amazing experience for those of you that may not have known what I have done. I spent just over 3 weeks in January above the Arctic Circle just writing music in complete solitude, in the dark, alone, going mad. No, it was truly an amazing experience, and that first track is called Ceylan, off the new EP, and as you're probably aware, we're going to play the EP from start to finish, which is only 6 tracks, so I'm going to just tell you tales along the way, which I think is more terrifying than actually singing. So that first track, Ceylan, is about the island where I stayed, and it's off the mainland, and you have to catch a ferry there. It took me 3 flights. One of them was a propeller plane. That was an experience. Has anyone been in a propeller plane before? Yeah. Yes, there's a few. When people say yes, they're like... On the way back, it got cancelled, so that says it all, really, because it was too stormy. But, so it took 3 flights, a ferry, and about half an hour, 45-minute drive to my cabin, which was situated right at the end of the island road. It was the last cabin. And I spent 3 weeks alone there just writing. And on this island, there's obviously fjords everywhere. It's truly beautiful. And there's usually about 90 people that live there during that time of year. Well, no, in the normal time of year, actually. During that time of year, there's about 30 people living there. So I was probably one of those 30. So it's really, really remote. And you get to know everybody pretty quickly. There's one shop, which was run by a couple called Andrea and Mary Lou. And they were really wonderful. They kind of helped me a lot during my stay, which I'll speak about more later in the set. But the shop is also a museum. It's tiny, by the way. It's like a shop, museum, and also has fishing tackle, because it's a fishing area. And also a defibrillator. I can't say that word. Can you say it? Defibrillator. Should have practiced that one before. Get my teeth. So it's quite a special place, the island. It's obviously very important, that one space. So they kind of look after the whole community. And that first song was my kind of interpretation of a Sami type of music. So has anyone heard of Sami people before? Very polite, God. So the Sami are the only indigenous people of Europe, and going out there as part of this funding, I did a cultural exchange, so they learnt about my heritage and I learnt about theirs. And one of the things I learnt about was their music, which they have called yoik, and it's a type of, they don't call it like pretty singing. I thought it was beautiful personally, but they sing the song of something. They don't sing about somebody or an object. So it's like they'll sing the song of the fire, not about the fire. So they won't be descriptive. Or when somebody's born, there'll be a song of that person, so of their being, rather than describing them like we would. So I just took this idea and I thought it would be the most amazing thing to kind of not, no way, try and do a yoik, but try and take that idea and create a song that was my interpretation of that. So that song that we just sang was how I described Ceyland in song form without words. So that gives you a bit of an idea of what that was all about. So the next song we're going to sing for you is a song called Polar Night. And this basically sums up the experience as well, and summed it up as a whole, I guess. And Polar Night, the time I was there, was when it was basically 24-hour darkness. So there was about an hour of light a day, which is quite intense. But you'd make the most of that hour. So it would get quite light, but the sun never rose above the horizon. So it was like a strange light. And then by the time 2 o'clock came, it was pitch black, like middle of the night here. So it was quite an extreme darkness and experience, but amazing. If ever you get the chance to go, I would highly recommend. Should we do Polar Night? I've given them a chaise longue. Do you like it? You can chill out. They might get too comfortable, I don't know.
This is very lumpy.
Very lumpy, it's not that comfortable, I know. Are you ready? I call out to sea. This kind of cold is so serene. Biting wind and frozen heat at the water's edge. I feel free. Snow falls around me. It doesn't melt beneath my feet. I see shores and mountain peaks. Here there are songs carried on the breeze. It's alright. It's dark way out here, but I'm not scared. I feel no fear. Northern lights dance through the sky. I feel comfort bathed in your light. It's alright. I call out to sea. This kind of cold is so surreal. Thank you very much. Is everyone okay? It's a strange setting having like a chat, isn't it? It's like, cheers. It's good, somebody needs to break the ice. Oh, no pun intended. Okay, I'm okay now. So at this point, I'd like to introduce my wonderful ladies on stage. So closest to me here, we have Eline Brun of Icy Rivers. Please give a round of applause. I feel like we're on a chat show. And next, we have the wonderful Jo Messore of Skybarkers. And over lazing away there, chilling out, we have Rona MacGregor, also known as Rona Mac. I'm very lucky to have them share the stage with me, actually, because when I had this whole idea of doing this performance, because as soon as I was writing the songs, and I actually had their voices in my head when I was doing all the backing vocals on the EP, because I love harmonies, but it's kind of sad that you can't perform them yourself. Well, Rona does, because she does looping pedals, but I can only just get my own voice out, let alone several of them. So I just had this idea when I was actually writing the songs in the cabin, that I'd written the kind of core of the song, and then my favourite bit is to do the harmonies. So when I was writing them, I just imagined each of these three voices, and also there is another one that's missing, which is Gyril Nilsson, who is also of Icy Rivers. But she is in Norway now, so she couldn't be with us. But those were four voices that I imagined on it, and I'm really blessed that I could have 3 out of 4 isn't bad, is it? So, thank you, ladies. Thank you. Story time. What shall I tell you about? Does anyone have any questions about it? I might say something later on, but ooh.
I was going to say, how did you cope with the dark, with the
dark.
Almost constant dark?
That's been one of the most, coping with the dark has probably been the most asked question I've had since I've come back. And it was, it's bizarre, because when I was going out, like the idea, when I was going out there, I thought I'd get really down, like, because you think here, like in the winter months, it can get so dour and hard. But I think because it was such a new experience, and I knew that I was only there for those 3 weeks, it was a novelty. And for me, it was perfect to go there for writing, because I'd make the most of that hour, and then I'd come back to my cabin and write for hours and hours and hours, because there's literally nothing else to do when it's dark. You can't go outside. Well, you can, but you need head torches, and got to be careful with all this crazy weather with avalanches and moose. Did anyone know that moose can swim? You did? I didn't know. I'm glad I didn't know till after. But they swim from the mainland across the ocean to the island. And thankfully there was no moose spotted when I was there, because it's all like national park, this whole island that I was on. And they'd said, yes, we spotted a moose, and they're massive as well, and they're obviously quite dangerous. So that was my fear, was going around with my little head torch back from the shop at night, like, please don't let there be a moose. But yeah, I think the experience with the dark for me, it worked in my favour, but I can imagine if you lived there, it would be very tough. But they're an amazing community of people that live there, so they all look out for each other, and I guess you could be quite prone to possibly being quite down or just hard work. And there was such an amazing community there that they looked out for one another, which is something that I definitely took home with me, the idea of, you know, looking after one another more. I think there's real beauty in that, I think. One thing that I would do when I first arrived, talking about moose, that was the scariest thing I was thinking of. When I got there, the cabin, the front door didn't lock. So like round here, you don't lock your door. Like, I probably shouldn't say that really, should I? Seeing as it's my home. So I lock.
New piano next week.
New piano, yeah. So it's obviously the same there, but because I wasn't from the area, and everyone was saying, you be careful when you go out there alone. Yeah. Like, so when I was going to bed at night, I went to lock the door the first night, and the lock just didn't work. And I was like, shit. So then your mind goes in overdrive because you think, oh gosh, somebody's going to break in, there might be some crazy person. So I'd like get these bag of logs that I'd stashed and press them up against the door. So then if somebody did open the door, they'd fall and I'd at least hear it and be able to either panic more or escape somehow. But needless to say, that didn't happen because it's literally one of the most safest places on earth, I think. It was, yeah, everyone was so kind and generous and welcoming. So I didn't need to do that. I was just being stupid, really. Should we sing another song? Yeah. So we're going to do Blue Hour now. And the Blue Hour is a time of the day where it becomes light, and then either side of that light, it casts this most amazing blue over all of the snow and the landscape, and it makes it really surreal. It's really deep, deep blue, and I just had to write a song about it, and this one was one of the most stubborn songs I've ever tried to write. It just wouldn't come out, and I almost gave up. 3 days later, of hours of sitting at the piano, it finally just wrote itself. But sometimes that happens, I guess. But this song, I actually want to dedicate to Gyril, who isn't here with us tonight. And at the end of this evening, of the music side of the evening, we will be premiering a mini documentary. It's about 14 minutes long of the trip that Gyril made for us. So that's a while off yet, but just don't leave when we stop singing, basically. Otherwise we'd be devastated, and so would she. So this is Blue Hour. Sitting here by candlelight, I'm lonely, but I feel alright. I am known to run away when life gets hard, feel I just can't stay, but I only ever want you right. much I've needed this, but I only ever want you around. And I wish that you could see what I see now. In the blue hour, blue hour, where the sun doesn't rise, only moments of light, perfect shade of blue, surrounded by beauty. But all I see is you in the blue hour, blue hour, where the sun doesn't rise, only moments of light, perfect shade of blue, surrounded by beauty. But all I see is you. Got enough room over there, girls? Comfortable?
Real serious slant going on.
Should have slant like you.
Oh, no. I'm going to play a guitar song now, I think. I've got little notes here because, like I said earlier, talking's more scary than singing, which sounds weird. Can anyone relate?
I can talk, but I can't sing.
Well, maybe I feel like how you do about singing. But
I've got a question.
yes,
What
okay.
did you take with you, instrument-wise?
Absolutely nothing.
So there was a piano there?
There was a piano. Yeah, I was really fortunate that in the cabin there was a piano.
Okay.
Well, I had a piano, and there was 2 electric guitars and an acoustic guitar, and then there was traditional Sami instruments as well.
Okay.
So there was, it's like a a drum, a reindeer skin drum, and it's got loads of drawings across the surface.
What, like a Celtic?
Almost like that, yeah. So it kind of looks like, it's called a runabum. I'm going to say that very wrong, but it's like a Celtic drum in a way. It's kind of more. This one was more oval and with drawings all over the top. And they'd have a noaidi, which is a shaman, a type of shaman or a seer that would play the runabum. So these drawings across the top of the skin would basically, you'd drop a piece of reindeer antler on it, which was probably about that size, that's attached to the back of the drum, and you'd drop it on the top and then beat it, and then the journey that reindeer antler makes across, the shaman or the noaidi would tell you your, not future as such, but your, if you'd have luck with fishing or that sort of thing. So it was very practical.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a really cool instrument, so I was hoping to use some of that, but I was very frightened to use it. I played it a bit, but to record it, you have to heat it up so much under a fire first for the tension of the skin to get tight enough. So when you first played it, it would be super loose and sound a bit like a sack. But then as it was tightened, it sounded really cool, and you could like put tension on it and play it differently. But I was too frightened of kind of warming it up all by myself, because if you obviously tighten it too much, it breaks. And these were made actually by the shamans and are given, so they're very sacred instruments. So I was very fortunate to be able to use it as little as I did for its full potential. But it was there was some beautiful instruments there. So I just brought out all of my own recording equipment, So I brought, this is Dean, by the way.
Hello.
Sorry, it's probably trying to do it without anyone noticing you, and then I'm like, Dean. He's catching one of my chins by ear, so that's nice. Yeah, so, what was I saying? What was I watching?
Recording equipment.
Recording equipment, thank you, yeah. So I brought all of my, like my interface, my laptop, I brought microphones, cables and everything out with me, and a little field recorder, so I could capture some recordings outside, because obviously if you bring a laptop outside in that weather, it's just going to die, because it's so cold. So that's the only thing that I needed to bring with me, along with about 1 million pairs of thermals and wool socks, basically. I'm going to go over there now. This is warmed up enough. I'll tune this up while I talk to you. I'm trying to think what I'm going to talk about. Okay. I mentioned the shop earlier. And like I said, it's the only shop. It's the only shop on the island. And museum. It has the defibrillator. And every Saturday, they would have free coffee and waffles at the shop.
It's reason enough to go.
I couldn't, it was amazing. So they would, it's really hard to tune and talk, isn't it? So every Saturday, you would go there for coffee and waffles, and all of the community would come near enough. So they had a big long table in there with maps all over it, and then you could go in and meet the locals, so that I was kind of trying to learn about their culture and their heritage and teach them about mine. And it's their kind of way of making sure that the community is safe. So because you have such extreme weather conditions and just extreme everything really, is their way of checking in. So if somebody doesn't turn up to free coffee and waffles, I mean, who's going to turn that down for a start? Then they know to check on them, or if they haven't called beforehand to let them know that they won't be there. So it's really nice. Like I said, that community is really there. And when I was there one day, I was going to the shop while it was light, and I was like, what is that in the distance? And there was this big boat coming into the fjord, and it was a big grey boat, and as it came closer we realised it was an ambulance boat. And it kind of suddenly hit home how isolated you are, because when you're on your own, you can feel isolated anywhere, even if you're in a town full of people. If you're in your room by yourself constantly, it can get very dark and lonely. But then when you're somewhere like that on an island and you can't get to your nearest hospital, that's quite frightening, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So that kind of hit home, and this elderly gentleman had a heart issue, and he was getting picked up by the ambulance. He was fine, which is good to know, but it was just that moment of, God, that is real, that's really extreme, that's really different to anything I've ever experienced in my life. But thankfully he was okay, and we saw him a few days later, and he looked fit as a fiddle. I'm sure he was out fishing like 2 days later or something like that. So, but yeah, this song that we're going to sing for you now is inspired by a time when I was in the shop and the locals were talking to me, and their English was amazing. Considering they don't really speak to a lot of English people, they really tried to speak English with me, or if not, it was like a bit of Norwegian, and I'd be trying to translate and to try and have a conversation. And they were saying to me, there's a hurricane coming. Well, apparently there's a tractor coming now. Yeah, there's a hurricane. I paid him to do that at that point, yeah. Yeah, there's a hurricane coming, and I thought in my naivety that they were saying hurricane meaning storm. And I was like, oh, okay, it's storm, right? And they were like, no, it's a hurricane. It's 40 meters per second. So what's that, Dave? You said something like 80 miles an hour the other day or something? About a bit more than 80 miles an hour. So it's actually a hurricane. And they said, you can't leave the house or cabin. Have you got wood? Have you got candles? Have you got enough food? So I had to make sure that I brought everything back with me, because obviously if you get a power line down, and you have no warmth, wood for the fire, then you're going to quickly freeze in those temperatures. So those moments, you're like, whew, this is not Pembrokeshire anymore. I will never complain about the cold again. But so this storm was predicted, and I got all my things in ready, and I was like, oh, it's a big experience. And the following morning, I got picked up and we went chasing the storm before it was turning into a hurricane. So we went round just to see how bad it was, especially over by where the ferry was, which is about half an hour-ish away. And it was crazy then. So we came back, but it didn't get much worse than that. So we were quite lucky, because where I was staying in the fjord, the fjord actually protected us from the hurricane, but a lot of places got hit pretty bad, and there was a lot of avalanches and stuff. So this song was inspired by that experience, but more romanticised, basically. As every song is, let's be honest. Sorry about the plaster. I was cooking, I don't know if anyone's noticed it, just drawn attention to this as well. I was cooking for these ladies. And I grated my thumb. Stick to singing, I think that says.
Really good lasagna.
Oh God, yeah.
Lasagna, yeah. There's so much left. Anyone's hungry, just it's in the house.
Might get a bit of thumb.
Might be, yeah, that's the only warning. This song is called Eye of the Storm. I'll go. I'm only lost when I'm alone. If you'd ask for me to leave, I'd dive right in till we're buried deep. Follow you into the eye. It'll be okay. One deep breath, count to 3 off the precipice. You and me follow you into the eye of the storm, into the eye. Into the eye. I'm alone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Everyone's still okay? You're very polite. Yes.
Question, Jodie. What did you eat mostly? You must have.
I've got to apologise. What I ate.
Was there much variation in the little shop that you could buy stuff, or was it mostly local fish?
I did a lot of buying on the mainland before I went there because the shop, it was amazing. To be fair, it had everything you would need, but not so much fresh veg. So if you wanted your vegetables and your greens, you kind of had to get it off the mainland and bring it back. But there was an abundance of fish there. I had some amazing fish, like freshly caught, cooked outside on the fire in foil and like traditional dishes. I'm sorry, I had reindeer too. But I guess that's their culture as well. But it was really delicious. There was they'd have this dish called fin biff that was like a creamy reindeer stew, and you'd have it with cloudberries or lingonberries. So you'd have like the sweet with this kind of creamy, rich meat, and you'd often have it with like broccoli in it and stuff. It was really nice. Sorry if there's any vegans, vegetarians in the room. But yeah, lots of that sort of stuff and lots of fish mainly. But I bought so much food because I thought it had to last me 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks. And I thought I'll stock up now, and I could just get the odd bits and bobs in the shop. But actually, I met so many wonderful people there while I was at the shop. You know, I spent most of my time alone, but they'd often invite me to have like food on the fire outside or some traditional dishes. So I was really lucky with that, really, because to have food from locals with their local cuisine is quite amazing. So that's the food. My favourite topic. Yeah, I guess, and we did a lot of cooking outdoors as well. I did a lot of cooking outdoors, and then when I did some photography out there with a guy called Rona Mac, who's amazing. He did a lot of the photos for the EP artwork. I actually have some EPs with me this evening. I have the CDs. I also have my other albums, but I actually have the CD of Polar Night with Me Tonight. And if anybody wants to pre-order the vinyl, I can do that as well. But it won't be here till July because it's got a little bit of delay. But if you like what you hear, these ladies aren't on the recording, and I feel like that was a complete error now. But you get to hear it in a different form now. All the harmonies are on there, but just me. And more me.
Multiple Jodies.
Yeah, my own choir. But yeah, when I was there, before we sing the next song for you, which is the first song I wrote while I was out there. And it just kind of, one of those ones that just fell out, just wrote itself. And I was thinking a lot about home and how, you know, you can take things for granted quite a lot. The people you love, the places you're in and go to. And I was just thinking about that a lot. And when I went out to Ceylon, I brought a piece of, because I know that they were quite spiritual in their beliefs, and I brought out a piece of, I wanted to bring a piece out of some Preseli bluestone. Shh, darling. But obviously you go up to the Preselis and well, yeah. But then if you do find bluestone, it's like the hardest and most massive piece of rock. So it's like, well, I'm not going to bring that on a plane, am I? So I settled for just off the bluestones. There was a river, there was water coming down the mountain, and there was some quartz crystal. So I brought some quartz crystal out for them. And then as I left, they gifted me with some, they call it, it's crocosol, which is crow's silver, and it's from the glaciers. It's like around where the glaciers are. And it's this piece of stone that, it's almost like, it doesn't feel like stone. It's almost like you could peel it away like plastic. It's really unusual. And they gifted me that, and they put it in the traditional Sami outfits. It's in their like belts or in their dresses. It's really beautiful, and it kind of shines, and it kind of looks like silver if you catch it in the right light. So it just made me think of all these things from home, and like the kind of exchange of being there. And one night I was outside the music room going, I don't know if it was night, it might have been day, it was dark, but I was walking between the cabin to the music space, and I looked up at the constellations, and there was like northern lights, which is amazing. But then also, Alina's from Norway, and you've still never seen the northern lights, is that true?
I have one.
You have one? One?
I live too far south though.
Too far south. But it is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's really, like they fall from the sky sometimes. It feels like they're falling on you and chase you, or they're like tumbling around. It's like, it is amazing. The colours, like green, purples, pinks, and it's magical. And I was looking up just like, probably crying. This is amazing. And then I saw, I call it the saucepan. You know, the plough or the dipper, big dipper, saucepan, isn't it? So I saw the saucepan, and it just made me think, well, that's exactly what you see back home. It's the same sky, and they could be looking at it exactly the same time, and you see the same view from like the opposite sides of, not quite the opposite, but quite far part of the planet. So I loved that idea. So I wrote a song about it, and it's called Closer to You. I'll have a swig of tea. It's very rock and roll. Has everyone got their drinks? Do they bring their own? Did somebody say no? Aww. Go in the kitchen. Yes, so this is Closer to You. Ready? Nothing seems to matter without you. The sun doesn't even take away the blue, 'cause happiness is only real when shared. It took distance for me to know how much you care. The stars that I see in the sky, same ones you see when you look up tonight. Miles apart, but we share the same view. If I think like this, it makes me feel closer to you. Closer to you. Close to you. Beside you. It's funny how we all take things for granted. We could have it all, but we'd still feel short-handed. You are the light that guides me home. up tonight. Miles apart, but we share the same view. If I think like this, it makes me feel closer to you. Closer to you. Close to you. I'm right beside you. Closer to you. Close to you. I'm right beside you. Closer to you. Close to you. Closer to you. Close to you. I'm right beside you. Oh, it's the last song and I don't want it to end. So like I said, after we finish this song, there will be about a just under 14-minute documentary created by the wonderful Gerald Nilsson, who came out. Her family are from the island. She is Sami herself. So she has created this documentary for you all this evening. So please stay in your seats after the songs have finished. So what do I need to say? Firstly, I want to thank these wonderful ladies here. Rona, Jo and Eline, please give them a round of applause. I want to thank Dave Berger, who is hiding in the audience. He hired us the projector. Give Dave a round of applause. There's also Jenny and Gareth, who aren't here this evening. They come in tomorrow. They wanted to put up the lights for us and create a kind of blue hour and a crackly fire vibe. So we have them to thank for putting those up. So. And also WeTheDee, Dean, who keeps sneaking around. On camera, he's filming tonight and recording. So hopefully we'll iron out my mistakes and we will put it out at some point. And last, but by no means least, I haven't forgotten anyone, apart from the obvious. Owain, Fleetwood Jenkins, who owns the chapel with me, and for doing all the sound, setup, everything basically. He's an absolute legend. We wouldn't be able to do these evenings without Owain, so please give him a hand. So I'm going to do a last little waffle for you before we sing the last song, if you're not too bored of my voice yet. So I spent an hour and a half on a snowmobile in a sled of reindeer skins, going up mountains and over icy lakes, being pulled by this gentleman called Arvid, and then his wife, Anna Ravna. We saw her later on, and she made us some amazing food and lit a fire, and we drank coffee and stuff. But this first section, we went up to the mountain, and it was it was towards the end of my stay, and I'd already cried a lot by that time because I was just in awe from a lot of the experiences, but also because it was drawing to a close. And this kind of experience, once we got to the top of the mountain, it was, like I said, getting to the end of January, which meant that the sun was getting closer and closer to the horizon. So as we were on this mountain, got pulled all the way up the top to be greeted by about 3,000 reindeer on the top of this mountain top. And that was, so Arvid, I should have said, he's a reindeer herder, Sami reindeer herder. And he took us all the way up the top, and we had coffee, and there was kids playing, and you'll see more in the documentary, but that was probably one of the most incredible experiences of my life. and the sun actually rose above the horizon for the first time for some people that were there since November, and it just peaked up above for about 5 minutes and then just went back down again. And we were all just there like, and even for me, I'd only been there for 3 weeks, and that was a huge moment. And you just imagine if you lived there, it would just, insane views. So that was quite special, but I felt really lucky that I was able to be a part of that, and also spent a bit of time with Anna Ravna, as I said, his wife, in the traditional Sami teepee, which is called a lavo, and she shared stories about the kind of suppression that the Sami had, and we spoke at length about how the Welsh language was suppressed, and how it's getting stronger, and that's what they're trying to do with the Sami language. And it was really beautiful to learn about those stories and kind of have something, albeit very small, something quite in common, and to be able to share that. So she was telling people about my history, and I'm coming here and telling you about their history, and it's just lovely how you can share those experiences. I think that's all I'm going to say. I could go on for more, but you're all going to fall asleep. So, yes, so this last song, as I said, is a thank you to everyone I met there, and especially to the Sami people for welcoming me into their community and trusting me with their history and stories. And they have a saying, it's very loosely translated to, you get the external warmth from the sun, which obviously you don't get for the whole year, and you get the internal warmth from a reindeer heart. So that's where this came from. So I hope you've had a lovely evening. Thank you so much for sharing your Tuesday night with us. And I hope you enjoy the documentary after this song, and I'll be outside. There's a merch table out there if anybody's interested, but regardless of that, just come say hello and have a chat. And I hope you have a safe journey home. Ready? Barod? Leave no traces of where you've been, haunted by strangers, yet you still let me in. You are the reindeer heart. Ancient and sacred, suppression and denial, tears of generations, now let your spirit no trace that the eye can see. Only your voices carry on the breeze. You are the reindeer heart, all through deep within. With your open arms, you trust me enough just to listen. You are the reindeer heart, all through deep within. With your open arms, you trust me enough just to listen. You are the reindeer heart, all through deep within. With your open arms, you trust me enough just to listen. Oh, listen. Listen.